Okay, we got another Ultima motor video. This one's a twin cam. So it's a Tatro machine special. What is that? 10 cc you said? So it's a 100 cubic inch motor. So that's who you get them from. You might know that guy somewhere. I don't know. That's where you buy them from. There's the part number. This side's up too. See, don't make it upside down. All right. So let's see what we got in here. Pour out. This one's glued in better than an Evo motor. See, smaller motors, you got to pack them better too.
Formed around the head.
It's packed in there good. Throw it over there in the corner.
Wow.
Look at that, they even give you a service manual. Look at that.
What?
Look at the owner's manual there. Look at that. We didn't get that with the Evo motor. Oh, what, do you get a sticker too? Oh, we got an Ultima sticker.
Oh.
Boy, that feels so special.
Spark plugs.
Okay, where's the extra bag of parts? Must be down there. I had to order some parts extra, I guess. Alright, so this is a 100 cube twin cam, 99 to 06. Unless you got a Dyna, then it don't fit.
Oh.
It's got compression releases, yeah. You like those, huh?
I don't know, that's what I have, and sometimes I forget.
Warning, do not ever use it, will last forever.
Sometimes I forget to push the button.
I'm thinking this is jammed in there pretty good. That is not held in at all by anything. You believe that shit?
Didn't come out.
So how are we going to pick this up? Carefully.
Do we need to?
Yeah, I wanted to get up on the bench so I could look at it.
Oh.
I haven't seen a twin cam one yet. First time for me to see it too. So this is going to be heavy. How heavy are twin cams? Are twin cams heavier than Evos?
125 pounds.
You think so? Is that what they weigh?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Is it heavier than our cam?
I doubt it.
Okay, grab the crank. It's hard to deadlift.
From that low, yeah.
Well, I can swing them up, I just can't deadlift them like that. Hey, this box is away. Come on. You like the engine stand this on?
Jesus Christ.
These aren't flat like Harley motors.
Well, what should we put up here?
No, let me see it.
It's coming at me.
Let me go. Let's see what it does. Okay, it's only going to fall on the floor. Wood.
Wood.
Are you nervous?
Well, it's somebody's new motor, man. I just...
What's the worst that could happen? Come on.
It's sure not going to bounce.
It might bounce. I got to protect the floor. You don't think that'll bounce? I think it'll bounce just fine. Alright, so these 100-inch motors and 113 and a 124, all the same heads, cases, pretty much, and cylinders. I think everything's the same. They change the bore and the stroke a little bit. So, what I don't know is the intake. And that's got an oval intake in it. Look at that. See that? Pretty slick. Where's my tape measure at? Can I get in here with this? Yeah, a little bit. And 7/8/6. See the difference? Five. 200 thou difference. So they give you an oval intake port, and they tell you to put a stock intake manifold on it. What's the exhaust look like? They're running D-shaped exhaust. That's definitely bigger than a normal valve in there. How's the intake valve look? Oh, that's definitely bigger. That's way bigger than the stock intake valve. You know your crank sensors in there. That's what that is. Round alternator plug. This is where the oil filter goes on. What's up with this? It's dummy. I don't have anything in there.
That's where you can put the fancy one in.
So I'm assuming this has to do some kind of an oil line chingos deal. That's why they give you oil line fittings. So if you look in here, I'm sure there's something about oil lines in here somewhere. How many pages before they get the real information? Oh, they give cams. Oh, look at this. They got information. They don't give you this in the catalog. I'll pull back one page there. Yeah, it's not sticky enough. I know 100 incher. See, 113 is the first motor they built, so that's the spec sheet. So this has a milder cam than this. So they run an Andrews cam in there, and this is the heavy duty one for the big motor. They use this cam for the 113 and the 124. The cam in this motor here at the 100 incher for more reliability, it's only 240 something, low 40s, 238, 242, something like that. And the lift isn't as high. This has got 570 lifts in it. So you want some specs for what these look like? There you go.
I guess you gotta do all this before.
They got compression releases, but they're very hard to operate.
I just forget to do it sometimes.
That's why they make the big starter motors. That's why you're supposed to have an Ultima high torque starter motor. Thunderfire. And if you want a good one, buy something else. I didn't say that, did I?
No.
Okay, good. All balls.
And you gotta have
I like the all
failure
balls.
to
I use the all
read
ball
and
starter.
comply to this
They work.
document voids the warranty.
I have yet to have an all ball starter not work. So
Oddball?
yeah, all balls. ALL
Oh.
balls. Well, they got timing in the motor. 30 degrees. That's a lot. So you get all this information here. Nothing else about the other motors. Yeah, that's no good. First startup, turn it wide open, twist throttle wide open. That's how I break mine in. There you go. I think that's what it said, didn't it? Close enough. Alright, well there you go. Get your Ultima book.
Yeah, but why do they give you a book for a 113?
They're all the same motor, it doesn't make any difference.
Initial startup.
So, where is the intake manifold information?
Initial starting of your
Okay, here's an Evo motor. Excuse me. I don't have a twin cam motor to go by, so if you go center to center of the breather bolts, let's see how close they are. Okay, it appears that they're probably using stock dimension air filters because they say you can run a stock intake on this thing. So that looks good. It has a 3/8 diameter bolt for a twin cam, not an Evo. So here's the stock intake manifold for a twin turd with a map sensor in it. Now the Evo doesn't have the map sensor, otherwise it's the same manifold. Now notice how this is a round hole, and those are oval. Now this is also smaller. So what, 570 I think? Okay, this is 620. Otherwise known as 5/8. Yeah, see, so they're the stock manifold. I thought there was more that way. What am I looking at? We don't know. No, we're a little bit higher on the manifold. Okay, so stock manifold is going to sit up higher. 740. What did I measure before? I had something I measured from. I must have measured inside the port. The port's tapered. So if you're on the outside edge of the port, you're bigger. So 1700 is probably the inside of your port. That way, and this way we're 8 something, I think, wasn't it? 780, 800, 1/800. Okay, so what was that number again? I already forgot. 720. 720 by 800. Stock manifold is 625. So when you go to put your stock intake on here or stock injector system, you notice how the intake seal is going to be super good. See how close a match it is? Doesn't line up for squat, see?
So it doesn't work.
Yeah, the seals will work, but the manifold is only hitting on top to bottom, not side to side, so it's not sized correctly. So even though they say you run all stock stuff, obviously it doesn't work because it's a big port head. So you buy horsepower Inc. 1720 to 1760 intake, small millimeter. What are they? 65 small one, 62, 58, something. I don't know what stock is. Something small. That's what needs to go on it. Okay, here's an S&S intake manifold. So not the drag number, but the S&S number is this one. So this is the stock 410 manifold, which is the stock length for most every bike in the world out there. That's new little twin cam. Okay, so this one here is for a CV. See,
Holy Jesus.
got to put a McCuney on it. Here, hold that. So this one is 780. Remember the big one right here? Not quite that, a little bit bigger. That's 800. So see the intake port's a little bit bigger on the still on the cylinder because it's out of round. But the big thing is the OD on this is 880. So it's wider than the hole. So when you put it on there, notice how it covers up the hole now. So you don't see the ports anymore. Versus the stock manifold, what they wanted you to use. So you see it black all the way around everything. So this over time is going to eat itself up and slip in there and cause lots of intake leaks. This one here, it's on the aluminum, metal on metal. And this is it's the right length too, probably, because see I just slid right in there and stopped. And see you can see the manifold, the holes right there underneath it. So that probably lines up pretty good. Now look down the port.
There.
So what do we got? One side shows there. Yeah, see the heads aren't put on straight. This head needs to be cocked this way a little bit. What are you filming over here?
You mean
This head needs to be cocked like this to make this line up. See, it's not lined up.
so the head's not on right?
No. Well, see how this side lines up and this side here doesn't? See the gap on the back side?
So what do? Get a rubber mallet and smack it?
No, you have to loosen everything else and move it.
Oh.
Or run it. Just run it. Close enough. So how's the intake port line up inside? Can you see see the port at all in there?
Right on the money.
Here, hold the manifold right there. You don't see the port. It's a big hand in the way. You can see how it's got a big gap around that thing up in there. Port match sucks. You slid over, that's why. There, that looks a lot better. What do you keep moving it for?
I want to make it even on both sides.
Oh, okay. Well, it's gonna average out. So you see how it lines up a lot better now after you did that.
Yeah.
But you can still see it. Whoop. Yeah, it still wouldn't hurt to do a little port matching in there for maximum power. It'd be nice if they made an oval intake manifold like they used to, but they don't. I never did understood that. They make an oval intake for the...
That is kind of, that's not a complete
It's oval, yeah. It's 80 thou.
Oh, yeah.
Remember this was 720, this was 810, it's 90 thou. 90 thou. That's good for flow, but it's bad if the intake doesn't match.
Right.
So you need to go in there and make this match. So it's going to be a little bit lip around the top up in here. So, you know, typical aftermarket motors. Things aren't made quite right. Out of the box, they run good, but, you know, they could be better. Like everything, you can do a better valve job in there and open things up a little bit, give more power. But, you know, whatever. So I don't know how these oil lines are going to work. So, read the comments. I'm sure people will be commenting about how the oil lines line up with their motor or don't. So we already know we want to use a bigger manifold in stock. So you want to use the S&S intake manifold. Ultima has a manifold too, but they don't have any in stock. This is for a 45 or 48 millimeter carburetor. But S&S has a 42 millimeter spigot that goes over this, rubber, U-ring. We call that a U-ring. So with the S&S manifold, you can use all three style carburetors, 42, 45, and 48. On a 100-inch motor, the 42 is fine because it's a mild motor. When you go to 113 and the 124, then I'd move up to the 45 millimeter. And unless you go in there and put more cam in it and port it and do some more, you don't need a 48. It'll probably run faster with a 45 on it. So let's spin this thing around. There you go. Let's look like on this side. So on this side, a lot of warnings. These are your compression releases. This one doesn't work. Maybe it's because it's got this wrapped around it. You think that might be the problem? See the difference? Well, they give you chrome bowls, unlike Harley. That's for the motor mount. Looks like a normal alternator. I don't know if I put the seal in correctly. They definitely got a lot of sleeve on here. Damn, that thing's huge.
That's what she said.
Now that's going to vary depending on what your application is. So it comes with a 1.540 sleeve in it. I don't know what application that's for. Seems pretty damn long though. Any bearings in there? Yeah, some bearings in there. See, that is not enough spline. See how thin the spline is?
Mm-hmm.
See, if I was riding this motor or a bike, I would probably rip that thing all to shreds because that ain't much material there. So this spacer is way too long for a normal bike. I have no idea why that thing is so long. There's no damn way this thing would be correct for this motor. There's just no damn way. Now, do you think they're going to run an alternator on this motor too, or are they going to run an no, minus alternator delete? Because if you want to put an alternator on this, that's going to take away more area.
So why would they send that out like that?
I don't know.
They don't care?
Well, obviously this isn't going to work, so I don't know.
So do you cut that down or just get another one?
You can cut it down. It's just steel. It's not hardened. It's just steel.
Right.
Or you can go buy the correct one. Or if you're doing a replacement motor, get the correct one.
But it does depend on what bike you're putting it on.
Well, there's different alternator stack heights and stuff like that for different models. There's 3, 4, I think there's 4 different ones from Harley. So when you run a Timken bearing motor, it takes one of them, one style. And if you run without, if you run the roller bearing in there, it doesn't use. There's 2 other styles you don't use, but you got the alternators changed because you got 54 amp of the big ones, and you got the 38 or the earlier ones. And they're all different. They're different widths, offsets. Some alternators are only about that tall, other ones are about that tall. Pins line up fairly close. Overall, doesn't look too bad. You can see it still fits a 4 or 5-speed tranny, the good tranny. But that stupid 6-speed doesn't work very well. So get the sensor hole in it. Yep, got the sensor hole up there. So we need to hook it up. Alright, well there you go. Looks pretty good. A couple minor issues. Ports and that might be a common problem. And then obviously
Twisted head.
oil. Oil lines are always a problem on custom motors. So yeah, we'll see how this runs. We'll get some feedback on this, and then we got a 113 coming. I'll pop that out when it comes out. That's going to be another 3 weeks away probably. They got to make it. So it takes a while.
Tell them make it right.
Make it correct. Maybe they'll watch my video.
Only if you list it
Yeah.
as
So
Ultima.
leave comments on what you think. Is it good or bad? Remember, S&S only makes a 111 and a 124. This one's more reliable. So this one here is a 4 1/4 stroke with I think 3 7/8 bore. The 113 I think is a 4 1/2 by 4 motor. And then the 124 is going to be a 4 1/8 bore, most likely. Or they're going to have a really long stroke in it with a 4-inch bore. I'm not sure how they're going to do it. Because they're only making one motor, so they're going to have to use the same cylinder for everybody. So it'll be hard to put a 4 1/8 bore when you put a 4-inch. So, I don't know. You'd have to make a tissue paper thin cylinder, which I wouldn't really like very well. But there's no information on what they're doing. Until you get it apart, you don't know. But if they do a 4-inch bore with a... They're going to have to up the bore. They're going to have to go bigger bore. Because what's 4 5/8 and 4 1/8 I think is the 124. That's probably what they're doing. They're boring another 1/8 inch on the cylinder, so it's going to be really thin, and then you're going to do a 4 5/8 crank in it. I think that gives you 124. I'd have to calculate it out to know for sure. What are you looking at? You looking at dirt on top of the fin there? Is that what you're looking at? What? Are you picking out defects?
Mm-hmm.
What, you don't like that mark? That's a witness mark. That way you can identify this motor. What about that one? It's got casting residue on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's got casting residue on it too. Yep. Geez, these are not detailed motors. Oh well. And these are all supposed to be clearanced up here for more clearance also. That's why they're dimpled through here. Gives you more frame clearance.
Makes sense.
So if you're trying to put this into an FXR, some stupid people put these motors in FXRs, I don't know why. All you do is you put one of these motors in there, but a 120-inch one, and that takes care of the problem. And it fits. Unlike this one, you got to butcher everything. Alright, well there you go. First look at it. Eventually we might have a video of it actually running. Maybe. Alright, that's it for this one.